What's been happening in the Atlanta real estate market this winter of 2024 and into 2025? Is our market frozen in time right now? Whether you are a buyer or a seller thinking about entering this market, I'm going to show you the data and let you know what's been happening here in the Atlanta area so you are informed and ready to go. Okay, but first, my name is Molly and welcome back to my channel where I talk all things here in the Atlanta area. And today we're going to go over some stats and some charts just so you are informed of where we're at in the real estate market, and probably I'll give you kind of my take of where I think we are headed going into the spring months ahead. Now, as always, if you are making a move here and you have further questions, or perhaps you have something to sell here in the Atlanta area and you have specific market questions about your neighborhood, don't be shy, reach out to me. All my contact information is down in that comment section, so would love to hear from you. But here we go. Okay, so I want to talk about some data here, but a couple things I want to point out is that the data I'm going to share is for encompassing the metro Atlanta market. It is just too hard to, in a video, to talk about a specific subset of the market, because I will say, depending on the neighborhood, the numbers can look a little bit different. So it's just easier to kind of focus on Atlanta as a whole and all of its surrounding suburbs. Another thing is, if you are interested in condos, I will talk about that here a little bit later on in the video. Right now, currently, I'm going to talk about just single family home sales. Now, if you walked up to me right now off the street and asked, Molly, how has the Atlanta real estate market been over the winter months? In one word, I would say slow. Remember, real estate in general is cyclical, and we generally see, home prices rising at the peak here in May, June, and then they fall down. And especially as we get into those winter months, people are enjoying holidays. That's where we see a huge slowdown, just less sales happening. Sales do happen, but it's just definitely a lesser amount. Now, as I mentioned, sales here in the winter months here in Atlanta have definitely been slow, but I think overall nationwide, it has been definitely slow as well. Let's just take a quick bird's eye view of some charts here and look at the number of existing homes sold in the United States here in 2023 and 24. There were about 4 million homes sold. This is equivalent to back in 2008, 2009 when we had that market crash. So you can just see overall nationwide, there has just been a lot less homes being sold. A big contributing factor to this, I think there was uncertainty with the election, but then also that stubborn interest rate that just keeps on lingering in that high 6, almost 7% range. And look at this chart, you can kind of see lately what has that interest rate been doing. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage, on average, you could see here in February, we're about at 6.9%. It actually peaked up to 7% in early January. So, if you are, like I said in all of my other market updates, if you are one of those people that's waiting for that interest rate to be a sub 5% interest rate, that is just not going to happen, according to a lot of analysts and economists out there. So I think we're going to probably be seeing anywhere in the 6 range all year round. I don't think we're going to dip into the 5%. I can't actually predict that. I have no idea, but I would say if you're one that's trying to hold on for that huge interest rate decrease, it's just not going to happen. Let's take a look at how many homes have been selling here in the metro Atlanta area in the last couple of months. And you're going to see, obviously in January, we definitely always see a big drop off of the number of homes sold. Everyone's just kind of taking a break from listing their home, shopping, that kind of thing. But what I do want to point out is that we are just at lower levels than we have in any of the last, 10 years or so. So definitely low on the number of homes being sold. Now, what about average days on market? How long is it taking a home to sell here once you put it on the market and you get an offer and a contract on your home? You're going to see that here in January 2025, on average, it's taking about 49 days. This is about a 22% increase from the same time as last year. But if you look in years past, you're going to see that while we are at 49 days, look past, the COVID years when things were wild, we're getting back into a very normal market. Back in, 2014 to 2018, it was not uncommon to have homes sitting on the market for over 50 days. So while it seems extreme, we are getting back into a much more normal, healthy market here in the Atlanta area. Now let's take a look at the overall inventory supply here in the metro Atlanta area. And you can see it is creeping up, we are at about 3.2 months of inventory, which is an increase from the same time last year of almost about 50%. And I suspect that inventory level is going to continue to rise as we get into the busy spring season. But look at, where we are compared to years past in 2014, 2019. We're kind of right there, or maybe getting even a little bit higher than in some of the years past, which is kind of refreshing. It's we're getting back to a normal market, a more balanced market. Remember, a balanced market is technically 6 months of inventory. We're still way below that, but it just really depends on where you are looking at. There are certain neighborhoods where there's tons of options, and there are certain areas where we're still pretty limited. So it really kind of depends on where you are looking. But again, we are getting much more into that balanced market, which is refreshing for buyers. They have a little bit more time to look, think, and process, a home purchase versus in 2021 where you had to make a decision within an hour. So that is really nice to see. Okay, I know all of you are out there wondering what is happening with the average sales price here in the Atlanta area. I know all you buyers out there are crossing your fingers, hoping that the price is coming down, but the data shows right here that no, we are still increasing our average sales price. It has increased about 4.7% on average for the Metro Atlanta market. So yeah, with more inventory and higher interest rates, you would think that the home prices would be falling, but they are not. They are holding steady. So that is good for home sellers. You're maintaining your equity and value. For buyers, I know some of you are hoping for those prices to crash down, and they just aren't. I think there's just still a lot of pent-up demand, and man, if those interest rates do fall, which I don't think they will, but if they did, the price is going to shoot up even more. So we're seeing a very more normal level of price growth, which is a good sign to see. It's healthy for our market. Now I want to switch gears and talk about the condo market here in the Atlanta area, and I will say, just like it was in the fall and the summer months, condos still are struggling to sell. They are sitting on the market much longer. If you are a buyer looking for a condo right now, you are in Candyland. There's a lot more to choose from. Sellers are getting antsy. They are willing to make a deal. Now, that's not for all cases. Don't get me wrong. There's still some that stand out and can get multiple offers. But on average, you're probably going to be able to make some kind of deal. I'm not going to focus on the townhome market, but I would say the townhome market runs similar, parallel to the condo market, because both condos and townhomes have HOA fees, and whenever there is a slowdown in the market, anything with an HOA fee is going to get hit harder, because it's just an extra expense that you are paying for. And that has been one issue, is that, HOA fees, especially in condo buildings, have been increasing over the last couple of years. So you have a higher HOA fee, you have these high interest rates. Buyers just can't afford all of that. So that's why we're seeing a lot more condos sitting on the market and for longer. So let's take a look at some charts here at both the Buckhead and the Midtown markets. That's the majority of where your condos are going to be. So I think this will tell the story of the overall condo market. But let's look at this first chart here. So we've got an average cumulative days on market. So how long is it going to take for a condo to sell? If you're wondering what the cumulative days on market means, well, I've just been seeing lately that I've seen a lot of condos where they get listed, they withdraw the listing, and then they relist it again, and then the days on market starts over. I want to see how long that actually has been listed, whether you had to pull it off, put it on again, etc. So we're looking at the cumulative days on market, and you can see here in the green, Buckhead is up to 75 days on average, and for Midtown, we're looking at 70 days. So we're almost doubling the amount of days on market from the same time as last year. Now, we haven't seen this amount of days on market since basically 2014. We did see an increase in days on market right when COVID hit, and I think people were looking for more space. They didn't want to look at condos. So we saw kind of a stagnation in condo sales there for a while in 2020, 2021. And then kind of once COVID kind of eased up, I think people were more comfortable living in a condo again. But if you take away COVID, look at the chart here. We are at higher levels than we have been in quite a number of years, over 10 years ago. So condos right now, it's really tough out there. Now let's look at our supply levels. And as you can guess, for condos, we are definitely having a lot higher supply, a lot more inventory in the market. And that is no lie for Midtown and Buckhead. Look at the chart here. So for Buckhead, we're about at 6 months, which is almost 100% increase year over year. Midtown, we're at 4.8 months. And that's up 65%. And besides the COVID years, we are back to basically 2013 levels. We haven't seen this amount of supply in condos since 2013. So a lot of condos out there. Like I said, just a lot to choose from. It's definitely more of a buyer's market than it is a seller's market. Okay, so what's happening with the average sales price of condos? Here's where it gets interesting. Okay, I'm gonna put up the charts here, and you're gonna see for Buckhead, it's still going up a little bit, about 3.9% year over year increase. Now for Midtown, you're gonna see, it decreased 7%. Booyah. Well, if you really look down in a granular level, I was really curious about, where are we seeing this huge dip in the prices in condos in the Midtown area, where you're going to see that basically condos that are priced under $350,000, we saw a small decrease of about 2.5%. Now condos in that $350,000 to $500,000 and even in that $500,000 to $800,000 range, they're remaining pretty much flat or maybe just a little bit above. But condos that are priced over $800,000, more in that luxury category, and I find even like if it has a third bedroom, those condos just cost more. That's where we're seeing a huge decrease in the overall price there. I think there's a lot more negotiation room in the price for some of those luxury condos. You can see right here, there was a 6.7% decrease in more of that luxury condo market. So if you think that the Midtown condo market is completely tanking, it's more in that higher price category where we are seeing those bigger price decreases. To summarize all of this, I would just say that the winter market has definitely been slow. We've seen slower sales, a lot of that is cyclical in nature, and we're getting back to much more of a normal market that we have seen in the past. Now, we are about to hit into that spring market. I do expect that we're going to see more homes getting listed. I do expect to see more home sales. There's more people entering the market. I've had my share of buyers. We're talking about what we're looking for this spring. So I'm getting a lot of phone calls and inquiries. I know I get a lot of emails from other agents out there looking for a specific home type for their clients. So there are still a lot of buyers out there looking. Don't think that the market is just going to sit still. It is definitely going to heat up like it does every spring. That is pretty normal. In fact, I just heard about one agent who had a condo listing of all things that he had listed since November. And then all of a sudden, this past week in February, he had 10 showings and a couple of offers. So the market is a little bit wonky and crazy, and it's a little bit unpredictable. I know a lot of buyers that I work with will ask me, how fast is a home going to sell once it's listed? It's really variable right now, and it really kind of depends on the neighborhood that you are looking in. My best advice for buyers right now that are going to be entering into that spring market, I can't believe we're almost there, but you're going to see more buyers enter that market. So be prepared, talk with your lender, be ready to go, because certain neighborhoods, there's still kind of minimal inventory to choose from, so the good ones will get bought up. Now, if you're searching for a condo, and you're kind of stuck with this payment that you just don't think is going to work, sellers are motivated to sell. And one thing you could definitely try to negotiate is ask that seller for paying for a rate buy down. That might really help your overall monthly payment. If you don't know what a rate buy down is, it's basically you're asking the seller to pay down the interest rate by maybe a point or something like that. So they're paying that fee, and that's probably going to be cheaper for a seller to pay that than reduce the price by $20K. They may only have to pay $10K to pay a buy down in that interest rate. And what does that mean for you as a buyer? You have a lower mortgage payment, probably going to save a couple $100 versus if you just negotiate $10,000 off of the asking price, your mortgage payment is only going to save you maybe like $20 or $30. So trying to buy the rate down might be a great way to go. If you got more questions about that, just reach out to me. Now, if you are a seller thinking about listing here in the springtime, this is kind of like the best time to really list your home. We generally see the highest sales prices hit in the springtime. Now you're going to have more competition, but I will say there's a lot of people looking for the right property. So if you got one of those nice properties in a great location, it will sell, but you got to make sure that you are pricing it right. If you are still shooting for an aspirational price, buyers just will not buy. They are not dumb. So make sure you're pricing your home correctly and get it listing ready. Buyers are also very picky. If you've got a lot of things that need to be fixed, they just won't make an offer, or they are going to give you a lowball offer. Now, if you have a condo to sell in this market, the best advice I can give for you is that you're going to need some patience. The condo market is still slow. It's going to take some time, most likely, to get your condo sold. But one thing you can do is make sure that your condo is presenting in the best light as possible. Maybe you need a few little updates, changing out the backsplash. I've seen a lot of old school backsplashes. Change that out. That'll look a lot better. But the other thing would be, if you can get creative, offer some kind of incentive for a buyer. Maybe you offer to pay a rate buy down or pay for some HOA fees at closing, something to entice the buyer, where we have a lot of price sensitive buyers in the condo market right now. But there you go, you guys. That is my market update for the winter here in the Atlanta area. I think we're going to see a little bit more activity as we heat up here in the spring months, and I will bring you another report as we get into that spring market. So thanks for joining me. If you see me out in the wild, make sure you say hello. Would love to say thank you for watching. But you guys, until next time, I'll see you around the neighborhood.